Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to our Food and Farming Fortnight 2020. We are live from the Prince of Wales School in Dorchester, and it's great to welcome you here today on Wednesday, the 30th of September 2020. We are halfway through week one of our Food and Farming Fortnight. We've had a number of children go and visit Maiden Castle Farm already, and we've already had a range of inspiring guests join us virtually, and I'm delighted to say that we have another guest joining us today. We've got George. Good morning, George.
Good morning, Gary, or should I call you Mr Spracklen in front of the school?
That's fine. And George, would you like to tell us where you're joining us live from this morning?
Yeah, well, you're joining me. I'm joining you live from Travellers West Farm near a little village called Weston near Blandford, about 17 miles north of Dorchester. And you're joining me in my tractor shed, and I'm showing you at the moment. I hope you can see a shiny green John Deere tractor.
Yes, we can see that nice and clearly. We've got a tractor parked out the front of school at the moment. It's not a John Deere, but it's a similar size.
Well, it's very important to keep a John Deere in front of everybody because, of course, they are the best tractors. And some of your pupils may already know that.
Fantastic. And what's going on up at the farm today, George?
Well, right here, Gary, we've got a lorry being loaded with grain. Perfect timing. You can just see the bucket tipping into the top there. Can you see that okay?
We can see that. And what's that where's that off to?
Okay, well, this is a load of wheat we're taking out of the store, which is just here, this big barn. And that is going to somebody who manufactures animal feeds called John Loader over near Fording Bridge. And I think they make horse feed and pheasant feed and other animal feeds. And here's the driver as well, who's supervising the loading of the lorry, because he's got to make sure we put the right amount of grain on, not too much so that the lorry's too heavy to go on the road. So he's got a weigher on his lorry. Okay.
You were telling me it's not the only lorry you're going to have on site today.
Two or sorry, don't get too much signal trouble. I lost you there. Right.
That's okay. So George was telling me that he's got, I think, 4 lorries coming on site today, and that's just the first one there loading up. So there's going to be 4 lorries coming on site here today. As we pick up the feed again in a second, have a look at what you can see, children, on the farm, because we're looking at a farm live in Blandford this morning, which is great that we can link live with farmers. And we can see what they're up to, which is fantastic, isn't it? While we get George,
sorry,
that's okay. We can see you again now, George.
Have you got me back yet?
Yeah, we've got you back.
Can you hear me now, Gary? Sorry, I lost you there for
Sorry? I can hear you. That's great.
You can. Okay. Yeah, I'm not seeing you now. It's hard to know. Well, it says it's live. But did you lose me for a moment or two?
We did, but we're back now, which is great.
Okay, and I've got you on screen as well. Okay, well, I'll move on to what I was going to, my little demonstration I've got lined up here. So I said that lorry was taking wheat to an animal feed mill, but what would you say are some of the things you could make out of wheat apart from animal feed? I'm giving you some clues on here.
I can see.
It said the signal was all right first thing.
We can see you. That's fine. We can see some bread and some cereal and some cake there.
Okay, I've got your voice again. Yeah, some nice homemade cakes, some nice homemade bread. But of course, what is used to make all these things that we grow on this farm? I hope you're going to tell me it's wheat. I can't hear you all the time, but I'll keep going. So here in this bucket, I've got some wheat, and we can look closely at it. And what I'm going to do is to take a little bit of wheat, and in this machine, I'm going to grind it up and see if we can make some flour.
Fantastic.
I'm not going to try and bake bread in front of you because that'll take too long. But we'll put the lid on and see if we can get some action and some noise. Okay, Where's the button? Ooh. Right, let's have a look inside.
Wow.
Okay. We've already got some quite gritty flour at the moment, but you can see if I wound it for a bit longer, we would have some. There is some nice fine stuff in here as well, but it probably needs a little bit longer. And then we could make it into some fairly low-grade bread. To be honest, we don't grow the right sort of wheat on this farm to make into bread, because you need the really top-notch, top quality. But you could make biscuits with our wheat, but most of it goes for animal feed. So a lot of it goes into pigs and chickens, which of course would find their way onto into many people's houses and their fridges and their dinner plates. Okay.
Fantastic.
Did that all make sense?
Yeah, that's all fantastic.
Great.
It's great to see that in action.
Right, now then, I can see the time. I don't want to run out of time. We've got plenty at the moment. Right, another crop we grow on this farm, unless have you got any questions so far, rather than me speeding ahead?
It would be great if we did have any questions. If you want to type them in the comment box. We have had our Year 4 class saying good morning to you. So good morning to you.
Oh, yes, I see the greeting. Good morning, Year 4. I hope you're all well. I hope you all had a good breakfast. Have you got them? Are you talking to each classroom separately?
They're all watching live and they can put comments on here. So if they want to add comments, they're more than welcome to, and we can pop.
Okay, well, I'd just be interested to know a few comments, a few suggestions of what some of them might have had for breakfast that could feasibly have been grown on my farm.
Excellent. Well, let's get those.
I've given you some clues here already, but there are others. There are other brands.
Fantastic. And what else?
We'll wait and see what comes up from the classrooms if the teachers are paying attention. Would you like me to move on to a different crop now?
Yeah. What else do you got on the farm, George?
Okay. Well, this here in this bucket is oilseed rape, which is the stuff that flowers in the spring with a bright yellow, and you can't miss it when you're driving around the countryside in the springtime. Big fields, completely bright yellow, and that's where this comes from. So as the crop ripens through the summer, the flowers die and fall off, but they've been fertilized by bees, which then make seeds grow in little pods. And there's a few little bits and bobs remains of some of the pods here. If I hold that up to the camera, oh, it's going to go fuzzy. There's the remains of a tiny pod, but inside the pod you get the little black seeds, all these black seeds that I've got here. And what we grow this for is to be turned predominantly into oil for cooking, usually, or it can be turned into biodiesel for cars and lorries and tractors to run on. So I've got a squeezing machine here, and if I poured some rape on the top, and I'm going to switch the switch on, which starts the machine going round. And if we put this in place here, we'll see what comes out. Got to give it a moment or two. Here we go. Here's some of the meal coming out. You see that?
Yeah.
That's some of the meal coming out, and then underneath it'll start dripping oil in a moment if I've got the jug in the right place. There, can you see that?
Yes, we can see that.
Okay, so this machine is squeezing the rape seed, and it's getting oil out. About 30 to 35% of the weight of the seed will be turned into oil, which will collect in the bottom of the jug. And then it needs a day or two to settle because it's not absolutely clear when it's squeezed. You can probably see there. I usually run it through a sieve. Let's just tip the jug up a bit. You can see there's a few bits and pieces come through as well. So it needs good sieving and then settling for a day or two. But after a few days of settling, and then we pour it from one jug, a bottle into another, and then we end up with a lovely, beautiful colour of oil. Let's get round the other side so you can see the daylight through it.
Wow.
Lovely colour oil. That's just as it was squeezed a few weeks ago when I last did a big batch for home cooking. So we use our own oil the whole time for whether it's cakes or frying eggs, anything you would use cooking oil for, salad dressing, we use our own oil. And of course, this here, the meal, can be used for animal feed. It's a very, very nutritious animal feed, in fact. But it's sort of flaky. It comes out of this machine kind of flaky. And
presumably
also crumbles up very easily. And it's warm as well, because it's under such a lot of pressure in there that it heats it up.
now, presumably that's done on a much bigger scale normally.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, I can only do about, what does it take me? About an hour to do, at least an hour to do a litre, I think, when I timed it once. But yeah, when you're sending a lorry like this size up to a factory, there's only 2 factories in the country that do it, one in Liverpool and one up in Kent. But I've never been to visit, which I would like to do, to see them doing it on a big scale. And they can get 40 to 45% of the weight of the oil, of the seed out in oil, which is very high yield. But I thought I ought to talk about what else the oil can be used for. So we've got, I said about baking things. So this baking marge that can be used for fluffy cakes. If you look on the looking on the ingredients on the back earlier. Ingredients: vegetable oils in varying proportions, 70%. Rapeseed. And then it mentions palm oil. Well, palm oil is bad news because it comes from a long way away and you don't need to use it. And then it uses a bit of sunflower too. But rapeseed, that's grown at home. I'm all in favour of that, homegrown food. And then here, well, I'm sure some of your pupils will like eating crisps, as I expect you do in a weak moment, like I do. And of course, they need to be fried, don't they? And most of the time, I think you'll find they're fried with rapeseed oil. So that's the story of rapeseed. Have you got any questions?
Fantastic. We've got a few hellos. We've had a good morning from year 3 from Holly.
Yeah, I got that.
And we've also got a hello from year 2, and they ask, have you got any animals on your farm?
I have got animals on my farm. Hello, year 2. And hello, Mrs. Bernard. I hope I've got that right. Who must be your teacher. Yeah, we've got quite a lot of sheep, about 200 sheep. No, more like 300 sheep at the moment because we've still got the lambs. We've got cows with their calves, and they all stay on the grassland most of the year. The sheep stay out on grass most of the year. They also eat turnips in the wintertime. And the cows will be eating grass most of the year, and then they come indoors for the worst of the winter, so we give the grass a rest. A big cow with its heavy feet makes a mess of grassland. So we bring them indoors and feed them on hay and silage indoors in the winter. And then they have their calves in March, and then they'll go outside in April when the grass starts growing again. We've also got an ancient pony. If ever you get to a point where you want to do a farm trip out to a farm, you're more than welcome. We've got a nice safe farm trailer that you can come out here on. You can meet the pony, some of my pet sheep, feed the sheep, and yeah, that's the animals we've got.
And presumably it's important to have that mix on a farm, George.
Sorry, noisy machine behind me. Could you repeat that, please?
It's important to do perhaps more than just one thing on a farm. It's important to have that mixed approach.
Very important, yes, because it means we vary our crops. So we'll grow in the same field. We might grow wheat one year, oilseed rape another year, barley another year, poppies another year, maybe beans, which we grew this year as well. So you rotate your cropping, but also if you can mix in some animals as well, it gives you an excuse to grow grass. Sorry, the lorry's moving now. And grass in the rotation also helps as well. It feeds the soil, makes the soil healthier. Let's just say goodbye to that lorry and then it'll get quieter again.
Now, Hazel at Maiden Castle Farm has set the children a challenge over this fortnight to come up with their own farm ventions. So this is in partnership with the NFU, and the children in each class are going to be designing their own. This year. That's right. And I noticed in the background there you've got some machinery that look like inventions
you want me to run through what we've got?
You could show us one of those. That'd be great.
Yeah, I'm just slightly worried that if I go further into the shed, I might lose my signal, but I'll try. Okay, so this big red machine here is our seed drill, which this tractor, which is our newest one, it's about 2 years old, pulls. We haven't started our winter sowing yet. Lots of farmers have, but we've decided we're not starting till a little bit later. So the side bits with all the sort of dirty discs and what have you, they fold down. If I put my hand out, the sides fold down, so it's 6 meters from one side to the other when it's working in the field. The big red bit in the middle is where we can put the seed. We can drop 2 tons of seed into it, and that will give it enough seed to sow 10 hectares at least, or 25 acres. 10 hectares, which would be about 20 football pitches. Right, this rather older machine here is a baler, and yesterday we were baling silage with it for the cows for the winter, but then halfway through it broke, so we had to go and borrow somebody else's. And then next to it we've got a lovely old vintage tractor which my dad bought when he was first farming on his own, the same year that I was born. I'll tell you no more detail than that. And then we've got a grain trailer here which is just parked in the dry. We've got some bags of seed corn with seed wheat we've bought to sow for next year's harvest. And then here we've got the biggest and most interesting machine. What do you think this is? Do you know what that is? I bet some of your pupils do. Let's get nearer outside again.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, can you see the combine okay?
We can see the combine.
Yeah, it looks a bit dirty because it hasn't been washed yet. We usually wash the combine and its header. This is the header, the bit that I showed you first, that does the cutting. And then the combine does all the thrashing, separating the grain from the straw. It leaves a line of straw on the field, or else it chops the straw if we don't want to bale it for animals to use. And then if you've still got time, in this bit of the shed here, this is our sprayer, which we use to apply fertilizer and sprays to our crops to keep them healthy, to kill the weeds. Well, that's it, to keep the crops healthy and to kill the weeds.
So a lot of big machinery, George.
We've got quite a nice collection of machinery. Yeah, we've got all the machinery we need to do most of the jobs on the farm. Then we've got this little buggy here, which we use every day to go and check around the animals, which can go up and down the hills rather better than a car, than a Land Rover. And it's a bit smaller. And that's really all I've got. Oh, well, the machine on the back of this tractor here we were using yesterday. This is a rake for helping us to rake up the silage into lines so that the baler can bale it. How's that?
Absolutely brilliant. George, can I say a massive thank you for giving up some time this morning and sharing what it's like live at the farm. We really appreciate that.
It's a pleasure. I'm glad it's worked. And
It's been
the rapeseed's still going. It's just run out and my pot is nearly full. So how's that?
We'll leave you to change that. Thank you very much again. And children, we'll be back tomorrow at 11:20 for our next live assembly. Thank you again, George.
Jolly good. Good luck with the rest of your food and farming fortnight.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Bye-bye then.
Hello, Farmer Lotta. Hello, Farmer Lola. Hello, chicken. We got a chicken. He lives on our farm. A very clever chicken. Bestest in the barn. We got a chicken. We taught him how to sing. We taught him how to dance. We taught him how to play the saxophone. Sing. Dance. Play the saxophone! Hello, Farmer Lola. Hello, Farmer Lotta. Hello, moo cow. We've got a moo cow. He lives on our farm. A super duper moo cow, the bestest in the barn. We got a moo cow. We taught him how to sing. We taught him how to dance. We taught him how to play the trombone. Sing! Dance! Play the trombone! Hello, Farmer Lotta. Hello, Farmer Lola. Hello, Piglet. We got a piglet. He lives on our farm. A perfect little piglet, the bestest in the barn. We got a piglet. We taught him how to sing. We taught him how to dance. We taught him how to play the electric